All right, y'all. Level 7 of My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. And you guys could subscribe anywhere, or most places. iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher. And I'm working on iHeartRadio and some other places, but just sit tight for now. And you can check it out on my website, peteraradio.us. And my guest today is a really awesome and creative producer. Her name is Keishh, and she's sitting right in front of me right now. What's up, Keishh?
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. And I love your work. And most people might know you from, listening to Miss Eaves, the Feminasty EP, and you did that whole thing, right?
Yes.
Oh, sweat. I remember seeing you guys in the basement of Brooklyn Bazaar. Yeah, that was so much fun.
That was a fun show.
That was great. And you two toured South by, right?
Yeah.
This year? How was that?
That was so much fun. I learned a lot from that experience just because I've never been before. So it's definitely fun just to always, of course, bond more with her because she's just a great person. But also just learning our way around South by Southwest and how it works. And we just had so much fun. And especially doing the shows. That was probably one of my favorite shows that we did on the last day there.
Most people have a different experience at South by. They're like, oh, it's too crazy, it's too chaotic. There's always a million things going on at the same time. So what was your experience like at South by?
No, that's definitely how I felt. I got there a few days before everything started up, so it was nice to kind of see the contrast. The first few days I was there, it's kind of like a vacation where I was just like, okay, I'm going to chill out, make some music, explore Austin. So that was nice. And then when the music stuff started up and all the shows started happening, all the conferences, it got crazy. And then I would just stay out super late, and so I wouldn't be able to really get to the conferences early enough. I was just like, what was the point of me getting this music badge if I can't even make it to everything? So it was just a million things going on, and it was hard to prioritize everything. But in the midst of all the craziness, I had a great time.
Would you do it again?
Yes, I would just go for less time, and I probably wouldn't get a music badge. I would just go and enjoy the shows rather than trying to think of this as like a networking thing. I would just go for the music.
Yeah, I mean, no, keep doing it for the music because you get it for free, right? Did you have to pay for that to get a music badge?
For the music badge, I did. We had artist badges that we didn't have to pay for, but before I even knew that I was getting an artist badge, I got a music badge just because I knew I was going to go. So I was already signed up and had my flight and hotel before I even knew that she was going to be performing. So that's how that worked out.
Okay, so you knew you were going to go on tour with Miss Eaves, but you didn't know you were going to have an artist badge at South by? Is that it?
Yeah, like I just knew I was going to go for the conferences, but then she was like, oh, I'm going to do a couple shows. And I was like, well, I'm going to be down there anyway. So it just worked out.
Cool. How long have you been in New York?
2.5 years now.
Where are you originally from?
I was born in Denver. I lived there until I was 10, and then I moved to Maryland. So Maryland is kind of, I consider that home.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Mile High City.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are digging that spot. Me and my brother know some people who moved out there, and I met some people who were from there. It was there growing up. Were you there like in your teen years when you were starting to get into music too, or?
No, I didn't start getting into music until I lived in Maryland because I lived in Denver until I was 10 and then moved to Maryland. So it wasn't until I was about like 17, 18 that I got into music. So yeah, I would consider myself, at that time. Yeah.
Okay. Because, as far as music is concerned, and, we have Northside over here in Brooklyn. Did you ever do that?
No.
No? It's like, I look at it as like New York South by because there's a lot of conferences and shows going on, at the same time. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's as crazy as South by, but it kind of, I've always compared it to that, but I think that'll be a good look for like, underground artists because they do focus on, a lot of art, like artists on the rise, especially from New York City. Definitely try to get involved with that one. Definitely talk to Eaves about that or just by yourself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not familiar, so I have to check it out.
Yeah, I went a couple of years ago and it was so much fun seeing all these people and going to shows and talking to bands from like all over the country that you don't really get to talk to like that or don't come to New York like that. It's so awesome.
I'm not hip.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's a whole lot of fun. So I want to go back with you as far as production wise. So what got you into production in the first place?
Yeah, my uncle, he was a producer. So when I still lived in Denver, in my grandmother's basement, he had a setup of like keyboards and stuff like that. And I would just see him working on music every now and then. I never get to like learn from him or actually, like really hone music skills at the time. It was kind of just like I would see him doing it. Um, and I think maybe a couple times he let me play around and like make a little beat or something. But I think I just always had a love of instrumentals from then on. And I remember just being little and riding around in my dad's Cadillac, and he had these huge speakers in the back. So just feeling bass all the time. Like I definitely had just little exposures here and there to music. So I always had a love of instrumentals. And then when YouTube came around and when I was a little bit older, like I said, like 17, I started just YouTubing instrumentals, like just to hear the instrumental versions. And then on the right side, the suggested videos would come up and you would see people like how to make a beat, like just people literally on their keyboards and some computer program making music. And so I was like, oh, what is this? And so I started watching people make beats, and then I would figure out the software that they were using. And then once I downloaded it, it was like I was hooked from there. I was addicted to it.
So I want to talk about the software you use, but I want to go back. With your uncle, did he produce hip hop music?
Yeah,
or?
it was hip hop. He would rap, and he had like friends that he made music with. So I never actually like made music with him, but I was still exposed to it a little bit, just because I don't know how many people get to see like someone actually make beats. So I did get that kind of exposure.
Who did he produce for? Did he produce albums?
I think just for his group.
Okay.
I'm not even too sure. I just remember seeing the equipment and him just like doing music stuff. Yeah.
Okay. It was all, I'm assuming it's like on an underground level.
Yeah, underground, just
Okay.
underground with like friends and stuff.
That's cool. So when you started producing, getting into production, what was the software that you used that you were first exposed to?
Yeah, Fruity Loops, because
Okay.
I feel like that's the one software that's really easy to download illegally. And like
You gonna put that out there?
it was just so easy to get for free. And of course, like once you start getting legit, you get all your stuff so that nothing crashes and you don't lose stuff. But I think when just first starting out, it was the easiest software to get, just to get your hands on it.
What do you think is the best software to make beats on?
I would say to Ableton. That's what I'm using now. I still haven't used all of them, so I've only used Fruity Loops, Logic, and Ableton. And Ableton so far has been my favorite. I just think that it was made for beat makers. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but the flow of it just feels better.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe, because like Logic, it's in all the other programs I've used is very linear. Like, okay, you have your instrument here, you're gonna layer that on your other instrument, and then you're gonna layer another instrument. With Ableton, I feel like it allows you to be way more flexible and more experimental just with the setup of it. So that's what drew me to it, especially for doing live shows. Just the looping features and stuff like that. It just gave me a lot more flexibility.
Did you go to college?
Mm-hmm.
Where
I
did
went
you
to
study?
University of Maryland, and I studied economics.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you, like, speaking of like software and stuff like that, through like your college, did you get like a student discount to get certain pieces of software?
Yeah, definitely. Like they have the education discounts, and I still have my student ID card just in case I ever need it.
When did you graduate? It's probably like done by now.
2014.
Okay, maybe you could probably get away with some things.
Yeah.
But some schools are smart. Like they know, you know what I mean? They know you graduated already. Did you get involved with the college station over there, WMUC?
Yeah, I wasn't super involved, but I definitely would go to like events that they had at the radio station, and just hanging around there. And I feel like I've done a couple things. Like I remember I did a little bit of just trying to shadow engineers there, just kind of like watching what they were doing. But I wasn't super involved, but they were always having events and stuff.
Did they have a music program?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you think about studying going through that end instead of economics?
I thought about it, but I literally realized that music was what I went to do like halfway through. So it's like I'd already finished a couple years and was like committed with kind of going the business route. So I was at a point where I was like, do I even want to finish school? But it was kind of like, okay, I'm halfway here. Let me just finish it out. And because I didn't have any music training. It was really hard, or I perceived it to be hard. Maybe it wasn't as hard as I thought it was to kind of transition into doing a music major or music business. So I definitely put in research to see, okay, should I transfer? Should I quit? But because I was like going to an in-state school and I'd already done a couple years, I thought it would be more worth it just to finish and get out as soon as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, were you making beats in between class? Is
Oh,
that
definitely.
it?
Like, because I used to be so focused on school. I was like A student, B student, just school, like very academic. But then once I got into music more, it was kind of like everything else was secondary. So it was just music all day, every day.
Who were some of the producers that you were, that you listened to growing up? Because you were talking before, you actually pay attention to who made this beat by a certain artist.
It was really like the whole Timbaland, Missy, Pharrell, like that whole Virginia squad. Like I felt like I should be from there because I feel like all of my influences are from there. But Timbaland is definitely my biggest influence, and made a lot of the stuff I was listening to growing up, like all the Leah stuff. And whenever I need inspiration, I just go back to his really old beats like The Basement and just listening to all this stuff and just hearing his progression. And Pharrell, of course. And I think I really love them just because they have their own signature sound, but they can work with any artist and just kind of adapt and give something to them, but the artist also gives something back and it just helps evolve their sound. And I think it's really cool.
I'm glad you named like producers, like artists that not only make the sound or the beat, but actually work with the artists to help create this overall thick, multi-layered sound. So with that being said, producer versus beat maker, where do you draw the line between the two? What makes a producer and what makes a beat maker to you as a producer?
That's a great question, just because I was most recently dealing with this as of last year, just trying to understand. I think that a beat maker just makes the beat and it's not really a conversation about the music. That's really where I draw the line. I feel like a producer, you're having more of a conversation with the artist of like, what do we want to communicate? Like, what do we want the sound to be versus just being in a silo? Okay, like I'm making the beat, boom, boom, it's done, and there's like no conversation about it. But I don't put one above the other. Like I value a beat maker as much as a producer. I just feel like it's two different things. But I don't look down on someone who just makes beats because it's still an expression. It's your own, and like I said, it's not as much of a conversation. But I don't think that's anything less than being a producer. Because I feel like people a lot of times look down on like, oh, you're just a beat maker. That's not producing, but that's still art too. Like I value it the same.
I think the issue is beat makers calling themselves producers. You know what I mean? I think that's where the issue arises. Maybe there is that, producer looks down on the beat maker, but I think it's mostly because of beat makers are calling themselves producers. And to a degree, it can be synonymous. Maybe, when putting together an album or whatever, like who is responsible for the production of this particular song? Maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm just
it's
guessing.
hard too because I feel like I was a beat maker calling myself a producer, but that's because like I knew what I ultimately wanted to do, but you have to start somewhere, and I feel like you have to call yourself what you want to be. Like you can't say, oh, I'm an aspiring producer, because no, I'm making music and I'm working with artists. Like maybe I'm not exactly where I want to be, but I feel like you have to start somewhere.
So now you would consider yourself a producer.
Yes.
It's like there's levels to this. Beat maker evolves to a producer. Okay, that's cool. And I want to talk about some of the projects that you've done. And for a producer, you have a lot of different types of content. You're not just like making, songs for people to rap over. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about your Beats with Keishh series. Tell the people a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Beats with Keishh, it's basically a mini video series where for one series, I'll pick a word, which is like the focus word. So for the first series, the word was energy. And I had 3 artists, and I give them like, okay, here's the word, here's the theme, it's energy. And then you pick a beat, and it's about a minute long. And then you just spit a verse that's inspired by that word. And so you get to see each artist's take on it. And then just hear the beats. So it's like, it's just a cool collaborative project and a way for me to kind of keep working with a variety of people, do something different creatively that people may not have seen from me before. Yeah.
Are you going to keep doing it, or did you stop it completely?
I stopped it just because.
Why?
Just because I have new I don't know, I'm just kind of all over the place, but I feel like I finally found something that I really want to put all my energy into, which I didn't see coming because I filmed that back in September when I still didn't know where I was going to go. So that was me just doing everything like, okay, I'm going to do live shows. I'm going to work with artists. I'm going to do this project, like just trying to keep everything going. But I think I'm going to put it on hold as I work on.
So it's not completely
projects.
over.
I mean, I'm not going to say never, but for the foreseeable future, it's done.
I can understand that.
It's funny because it just started picking up. I feel like with the very last episode, like I got so many DMs and like people interested in being a part of it. So it's just funny that I feel like if I kept it going, it would probably do some cool things, but
definitely don't stop doing that. I can definitely say that. I mean, as far as the beats that you have your artists to rap over it, they're yours.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you curate them live. Right?
So they definitely have the beat beforehand and like the word, because I only had the space for a limited amount of time. I wanted to get the most out of it. So, I have the beats they're already made, but I'm playing them live.
Okay. So you already made it, but then you kind of like recreate it live. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. That's really interesting. You do the same thing live when you're performing live, right?
Yeah, performing live, it's kind of I would say it's slightly different. And when I do it live, I feel like I would compare it more to DJing. I would love to get into more true like live beat making, which is definitely a talent, which I'm trying to practice. But I'd say for my shows right now, it's more of DJing where you're like using a lot of looping effects to like mesh your songs together. But I definitely say it's more of DJing, but using my equipment, if that makes sense.
So let's talk about your other series, Friday Flip. You haven't done that in a while, right?
Yes. Yeah. Wow, you're tuned in.
Yeah. So tell me about Friday Flip and what that's all about.
Yeah, so Friday Flips, that was when I first started getting into doing live shows. I would get tired of playing my same stuff because it's hard to like keep making new music, but also be preparing for shows, but also be working on projects with other artists. It just becomes a lot, and you're like trying to find time to make new music. So Friday Flips was a way that I forced myself to keep making stuff, even if you don't love it. It might not be the favorite thing, but you know, for maybe out of every 5 new things you make, you really love like a couple of them. So it was just, okay, every Friday I'm going to put out a remix and just put my own spin on it. And it ended up giving me like more stuff to play at shows and just kind of seeing like what worked, what went well, trying out new techniques and stuff like that. So just a way for me to challenge myself.
Why did you stop?
Well, one, cause I can't remember when I did my last one, cause I think I did about like 30 of them. And I'm trying to think of when I did the last one.
Was it the Nokia one?
No, it was a Georgia Smith one. But whatever happened, I just feel like a lot started happening with music. And like I said, now that I'm kind of working on new projects, I feel like I was doing all that because I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing.
Okay.
So it's like I was doing the Beats with Keishh thing. I was doing Friday Flips. I was producing for artists, doing live shows just because it's like, let me just keep things moving. I don't know where it's going to go, but let me just do a little bit of everything. But now I finally feel like I have a more concrete vision of what I want to be doing as far as music. So I feel like I can go all in on that versus spreading myself very thin.
Yeah, I think there's an illusion that You have to multitask. But I think if you do a lot of things crappy, that's not helping anybody. But if you focus on a few things and do a few things really well, I think that would take you so far.
Yeah.
So you really like working with producers and curating actual albums together with people, or EPs or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, I wouldn't have gotten to the point of knowing that, I feel like, without trying all that stuff, which was also why I just like experimenting, because I don't know if I would have gotten to this point if I would have not tried all that stuff. But I definitely love just working one-on-one with people, developing a sound, and making new friends, and just talking about music and creating something that's special to both of you.
Did you ever think about making a remix album?
No, I thought about making an album where it's like my original beats and featuring a variety of artists.
I think that's the best way to go, but remix albums are cool too, because Danger Mouse with the Gray album.
Yeah, no, I think
oh
that's
my
cool.
God.
I guess, I don't know, it doesn't really excite me.
Yeah, I get it, because you want to make your own stuff.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, you did a lot of work with Miss Eaves with
Yes.
the Feminasty. So how did you two get together?
Yeah, so we met online. Like, I met so many really cool people online through someone who found me like on this random producer website, and I think she was looking for new people to work with at the time. So I was still living in Maryland at that time, and we connected on Twitter and worked on a very small EP just with like some older beats. And then she's like, okay, I'm ready to like work on an album. So I did her previous album. And then we've just kept in touch from there and have done some really cool things.
Yeah, I really loved the production on Feminasty.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially Thunder Thighs, how that starts. Like those like synths going back and forth. Oh, I
it's
loved
really
it.
crazy to see stuff come to life, because sometimes I just make these little beats that feel little to me in my room, just with my headphones on. So to see something like come to life like that, it blows my mind.
So you want to do a compilation with different artists, rapping over your beats. Who are some artists that you have in mind besides Miss Eaves and ET.PAT, who we'll talk about in a little bit?
Well, to be honest, that was like a project that I used to want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm really just focused on the work that I'm doing with Pat, for sure. Because I feel like I wanted to do all of these things to kind of like keep searching for the artists that I'm supposed to be working with. Also because I feel like working with a lot of different people, it's very draining. Like the creative process, it's really crazy. It takes a lot of energy. And so I was like, okay, instead of trying to keep sending my beats out to all these people, maybe I could just make my own project, get other people on it so that it's like still like my vision, but more cohesive. But now that I'm finding these artists that I just really vibe with, I just feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know. It's just a feeling. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah, and we were talking about, before we started, you just want to working with like one or two people and focusing on them, building a rapport with them. To me, I think that's what makes a better finished product.
Yeah.
Because you have that chemistry there already, and it just kind of makes your creative process easier. Is that right?
Yeah, and I definitely feel like I'm growing already just by focusing on this one thing. Because I just feel a lot more patient, and I'm not thinking about all these other projects that I'm working on. It's just like, okay, I'm really zoned in on doing this one thing. So it's like I care even more because I can just literally care about every single detail. And it's maybe not in the way that I could if I'm working with 30 different people, because I'm just trying to like get stuff done because people are waiting for things. And I feel this pressure to like keep up with it all. So it's nice to just slow it down and really zone in on like every little detail.
Yeah, I think that's, I love that.
And challenge myself.
Absolutely. And you guys toured with Tune Yards, you and Eaves.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
That was like the experience of a lifetime because first of all, I'm a fan of Tune Yards, just a fan of their music. They're super talented. So to meet them in person and them just be really cool, supportive people, especially Meryl, she's always supported and is very supportive of women and art, and especially producers as well and rappers. And so they're just like amazing people. And so it's cool to have that energy and kind of go on tour and see people react to E's music and kind of be there in the background, because like I produce a lot of this stuff. So to kind of watch the crowd and see how they react to like something that we made, it was a crazy feeling. I'll never get over it.
And when you guys toured with them, were the audience, receptive to you too?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And
they weren't just like, oh, we're just here for tune yards.
No, and it's because you never know how it's gonna go. And we're in these, Portland, Maine, Hampton, Connecticut, and so I'm just like, I've never been here. I don't know what the people are like or what they're expecting. And Miss Eaves, she'll just like go off and has no filter. So I'm just like, I wonder how people are gonna feel about this. But by the end of the show, they'll be really into it. And when you're sitting at the merch booth after, and people come up and just talk about the show and if what they thought about it. So it's cool to have the conversations afterwards too.
And tune yards, they were very like receptive of you too, because I usually hear stories, artists going on tour with bigger bands and artists, and they don't care.
Yeah, no, they were supportive of Miss Eaves even before that. So we're definitely coming into like a welcoming situation.
Did you like their recent album?
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, me too. It's so weird in a good way.
And we got to see a lot of that perform live on the tour. And so it's so good. I love it. Like, I can't wrap my head around like some of the stuff they're doing. Like, I wish I could just sit in on a studio session while they're coming up with some of this stuff. It's really cool.
I heard one of their songs on FUV, and I'm like, wow, this song kind of sounds like a freestyle dance song, but it isn't. You know what I mean? And when you listen to the whole album,
dance vibes for sure.
Yeah, like, it kind of goes all over the place.
Yeah, when I remembered. I forget the name of the specific song, but it definitely has the dance vibe. And I remember them playing it live at the shows. And because it was one of the songs I got to go to the crowd, because like I was able to take a break from the merch table, and I felt like I was at a dance party. Like, it was crazy. So
I love that, because going to shows sometimes, especially in New York, people are so kind of just standing there and not really doing anything. But some shows, you're like, everyone is into it. Those are the best shows. At a Miss Eaves show, oh my God, everyone's into it. She tells people, okay, you have permission to touch me. Just you have my consent. I'm like, whoa, you're giving us that kind of power? And
it's the coolest thing to watch. I love watching her perform.
Yeah, and you're just in the background. You're very reserved. You're into it, and then she's like all over the place, twerking and stuff. Like, it's great. It's quite a sight. And now you're working with ET.PAT. Mm-hmm. And how did you two get together?
Funny enough, on Instagram.
Okay, seems to be the wave now.
Yeah. I think she said I came up on her Explore page, which also goes back to like, okay, if I wasn't doing all the stuff I was doing, you never know who you might have not met because of it. So whenever people follow, I definitely like always listen to their music, because I'm just always like tuned in. And she only had one song out, and I was just like, these vocals are crazy. Like, so I just hit her up. I was just like, I love your voice. And then that's when we talked about, okay, like maybe we should link up. And it was actually just in January, and we had a session. But I already knew that I didn't have any beats for her, just because I've heard her voice and some of the stuff she played. But we definitely just wanted to make it work. Like, I don't know. It was just like, I don't know. I feel like this is supposed to happen. And so I would stay up like every night till 4 a.m. just making new ideas. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And to a point where we got closer. And then we did Sundays, which was the first track that we put out, that premiered on Red Bull Music Radio. And from there, we're just like, we're kind of more in sync now as we go on, and the sound is evolving. So we're definitely working on a lot of music right now. I'm excited about it.
What's the next step? EP, full-length album?
EP is the next step, and we're already working on like visuals and stuff like that. So stay tuned for sure.
Okay, how far along in the process are you?
Like yesterday, we had like a 12-hour session where we did a lot of the mixing for it. So all the production is done, all the words are done. It's just about getting it to sound well, and then finishing up a couple more visuals. We're shooting a couple more videos next week, and then we just want to get everything done before it's like wrapped up.
Do you have another single coming out, or are you just gonna wait until the whole thing is ready?
We're gonna wait till the whole thing is ready.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's smart.
But you'll start seeing it unveil soon.
Okay, all right, okay. And then with the collaborative process between you two, is there ever like, do you guys have an open dialogue about what you do? Is there like a time where Pat is not feeling one of your beats? And
Yeah, definitely. Like we definitely have just open, honest communication from the start. Like, and because we communicate so much, like literally every day, all day, we're talking about music, sending things back and forth, sending new inspiration, and just like talking as friends. So I feel like we're very in sync that way. But whenever I send something that's not great, like, or that doesn't fit the vibe, we just have a conversation about it. Or if I ever think that, a certain part of the song could be better, like, we just want to both make the best track possible and both like it a lot. So we have no problems just like talking about stuff.
So what do you do with the beats that she doesn't like? Do you toss it, or do you keep it for something else?
Some are tossed, some it's like the concept is there, but maybe we just can't like nail it. And so those will be like just put on hold. But then there's like a lot of old stuff where we love everything, but it's just not right for the vibe that we're going for right now. So those are just on hold, and maybe we'll like remake them, or maybe they'll just collect dust for a while. I don't know.
I know Premier has his collaborative is a collab album, not collab album, but just a compilation, Beats That Collected Dust.
Oh, that's funny.
Will there be a Keishh Beats by Collected Dust?
Probably.
Okay.
Maybe one day.
I love to hear that, definitely, because what's one woman's trash is another man's treasure.
No,
I
that's
guess.
true.
That's a good title.
Sometimes I send her beats that like, I think there's some that I just send, and because sometimes I'll be working on music at like 4 a.m. and I feel like my judgment is just really clouded, and it's like not until midday the next day where I'm like, oh, this is actually terrible, or I actually like this a lot. And so I'll send them to her, and then I'll be listening the next day. I'm just like, wow, can you please act like I never sent you that?
I hear that, because sometimes when I hear a song and it's like, oh, this is dope, and my friends are telling me this is whack, and then after a while you're like, yeah, it's kind of whack and it's kind of terrible.
But sometimes I'll think it's whack, and then she'll do something amazing. I'm like, actually, no, that was a good idea.
Is there ever a time where like you're not feeling someone for vocals?
Not really. Like, she's just one of the best songwriters I feel like I've ever met. So it's never really that I don't like the vocals, but sometimes maybe it's like I'll like the delivery of a certain part of a song, and I'm like, okay, maybe you should repeat that. Or sometimes we'll agree like, okay, this part needs to go higher to complement the production. Or sometimes it's like she'll be doing something with her voice. I'm like, okay, I need to go back in with the beat, because like I really like that, but the beat's not fitting there. So it's really just like a constant back and forth of trying to get the beat and the vocals to like match perfectly. But it's really nice that she's able to record at home. So it's like, even though we're not at the studio yet doing final mixes, we can do a lot of experimenting and get it perfect to us before we even get to the studio.
So are you two, this is probably, a little early to ask, but are you thinking about shopping this to like some indie labels?
No, we're definitely going to like put it out as us.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's self-released. That's a good way to go. And
at least for now, yeah.
As far as, your abilities outside of beat making, do you rap and sing, play instruments?
No.
No?
Just beats. I'm currently learning piano, because everything I've done up until this point has been just like by ear and what sounds good. But I definitely have been feeling frustration of feeling restricted, and that I can't make everything that I hear. So over the past almost, not even a full year, but I've gotten a teacher so that I can really just learn and become more of a musician. Yeah.
So as far as your live performance is concerned, I think it's very interesting how you arrange it live. So can you walk me through your process?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So usually I'll have an idea of like the songs that I'm going to play, because I'll know, okay, it's a 20-minute set. And so I'm like, okay, trying to think of just how much I could fit.
And this is your set, not like you performing with a rapper.
Yeah, this is just, you're talking about just me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just me. So I'll know, okay, like it's a 20-minute set, and I never really think about the artists that are going to be there because I just want to play what I feel. Because sometimes it'll be, you know, super heavy hip hop show and I'll just come in with like all up tempo sounding things. So I try to like just create a playlist that fits the vibe that I'm going for based on like all the beats that I have and all the remixes I have. So just trying to get like a group of tracks that I think sound pretty good together. And then once I have like the idea of what I'm going to play, it's setting up really just a lot of loop points in songs, bringing in like little percussion loops outside that I can throw into them. So kind of just organizing the session in a way that's like, okay, I can experiment a little, but I know that when I mix stuff, it's going to sound pretty decent, like practicing that beforehand. Yeah, and then just like adding in all the extra little things that I feel like will make it cool, whether it's sound effects, preparing a lot of the fun audio effects that you can throw on top of the master track, like whether it's filters or EQs or sound effects, stuff like that. So it's really just a lot of preparation.
How much of it is improv?
I would say a pretty small percentage, like, I would say maybe like 25%. But I think it's mainly just because I'm not as good as I want to be yet. So a lot of it is preparation and creating the vibe, I'd say more so than doing a lot of improv. Ultimately, me getting to where I want to be, it would be more improv than preparation. But I just started doing live shows like March of last year. So it's been just definitely a process of learning and experimenting and trying to learn from other people as well. So yeah.
So this process is kind of new to me, like producers going out and playing what they produce. Usually I hear when DJs perform, they go and just play records, like a standard DJ set.
Yeah.
So when you're out there and trying to put together a live show, do you think to yourself, okay, I want people to dance or I want people just to hear what I'm producing?
Yeah, definitely. I'm thinking about that, and I think it's partially because I feel like a lot of the music I make is all over the place. Like I don't really feel like I make one kind of vibe, so it's really hard for me to put together sets sometimes because it's like I want this to sound consistent, but I also want to make sure I have enough music. So it's kind of hard that's why I started doing the Friday Flips thing, because I was like, I need more content for doing live shows. So definitely thinking a lot about what I want people to be thinking while I'm doing my set.
Did you ever think about DJing?
I did, and that's the reason why I even have a controller and was able to go on tour with Miss Eaves, because I thought about it at one point, and I did a friend's party, and I didn't really like it. I feel like I should give it maybe more chances. I just don't think it's for me. Like, I like being an artist DJ and kind of playing stuff that I produce, but I don't really like curating music for parties and events. I don't know. I just don't think it's my thing.
I tried doing that years ago too. I bought a mixed track controller, but you probably felt the same way. Like, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to play? Like, I know what I like, but I don't know if I can like.
And it's a lot of pressure. Like, I just didn't like that feeling of being at a party and being responsible for the music. I was like, I'd rather be using this time to create music. Yes. I just couldn't see myself really pursuing DJing and like being at venues all night. I would rather be in the studio.
Yes. Yeah. But I think what I've been noticing from, going to, your show with Miss Eaves and seeing what Aphrodite is doing, I see a lot of just actual producer sets. Like producers are showcasing their beats. Have you gone out and seen other producers?
Oh yeah,
live?
Definitely. Like ever since I got into the scene, 'cause I didn't even know this existed before I did my first show. But yeah, I'm definitely a huge supporter of everyone in the beat community, and I like there's definitely a few key groups, and they just do shows all the time, and I'm always going out and learning and just watching and seeing what people are using and seeing what kind of equipment they're using. So I'm definitely always tuned in.
Who have you seen and what have you learned from seeing other people perform?
Yeah, so there's one producer, shout out to Thomas Piper. I think I'm most fascinated by what he's doing because he really flips it, and he uses Ableton Push as well, but in a totally different way where you feel like you're a part of the song being created, which is like a level that I want to get to. Because he really plays it like it's an instrument, and even from the setup of it, it's like he turns it this way. I don't know if you've ever seen him.
No.
No, but he'll like turn the Ableton Push like upside down and like play it like it's an instrument, and he's building it live. But he's a singer as well, so it's like, okay, he's building the track, and then he's adding the vocals on, and so you really feel like you're being a part of this track being created. So that's one thing I've kind of taken in and want to figure out how to incorporate. What else? Mint Plus, I really like what he does too. He uses I see him using like the 404, and just from what I've seen, he does like a lot of really cool triggering live, and the way he uses effects are really crazy. But then like also talking to them and learning, okay, like I made this using Ableton, but here's how I'm like using it with my 404 machine. So learning how to take it from your software to hardware is really interesting to me. So yeah, just trying to learn all these different techniques and figuring out what makes the most sense to me and what would be fun. But ultimately, it's really just telling, I feel like, a story.
Yeah.
And making the audience feel like they're a part of that.
I've seen Jackie Mendoza do that a lot. She curates some sort of instrumental beat and then she plays ukulele over it, and she has this weird, strange reverb effect that's kind of beautiful. It's awesome. I love seeing people do that live. So I'm used to going to like indie rock shows where it's just like a band there, which is awesome, but I love seeing different kinds of methods of people performing live. And you've been in Brooklyn a couple of years, mm-hmm. and you're aware that the scene is very congested. There's so many things. So where's your go-to spot to seeing shows? And since you've been living here in New York, what was like the best show you've seen?
My go-to places for like any kind of shows or beat shows. I really like, trying to think. Well, I'll say my favorite show was seeing Neo at what's that place? Well, what's that place in Williamsburg?
There's a lot of
Williamsburg
places.
Music Hall.
Oh, Music Hall Williamsburg.
Music Hall Williamsburg. I saw Neo there. That was my favorite show just because I was obsessed with her music, and then she finally came and performed. So I went by myself, but I had like the most fun there. It was really fun seeing her live. I wouldn't really say I have a go-to place yet.
You don't go to shows that often?
I go to shows, but I feel like they're always at like a bunch of different places. Like I feel like I go to beat shows more than anything. Mm-hmm. But I don't really feel like I have a favorite place.
Like big shows? Like who have you
seen?
No,
little shows. Okay. Just like I most of the shows I go to are just seeing other producers perform.
Yeah.
Unless it's like
Crumb.
Yeah. So I don't go to a ton of shows, but I definitely go out a lot to see producers perform.
Did you work with Issa Rae's Awkward Black Girl show? Did you
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How did you get that? How did you get that connection?
When I was going to University of Maryland, she came to speak because that's when Awkward Black Girl was huge, and she was doing like college tour, kind of like going to different schools to speak. So me and my best friend, we went, and I had business cards on me because I was like, I don't know, maybe. And after she finished speaking, we like waited in a line to speak to her. And like, I know she's always using music and like writing raps in the show. So I was like, if you ever need any music for, any of your rhymes, like I make beats and stuff. She's like, okay, cool. Do you have anything? What did she say? She asked me if I had anything ratchet. I was like, of course I do.
That's great. That's so awesome.
So I had emailed her a few beats and didn't really hear anything back. But a few months later, she was like, we're going to use something. But next thing I know, it's like the trailer and Pharrell's in it, who's obviously one of my favorite producers. And so it was just like, that was when I was having my turning point of like, okay, I definitely want to do music. So to have that all happen and being in school and stuff like that, it was like kind of my first real experience with music. So it was really cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, I know Miss Eaves did work for Insecure.
Yeah.
Do you watch Insecure?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man, I'm hearing that Lawrence is not going to be, in season 3 like that.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope he is. He's an awesome character. I love it.
Getting our track in that show too. That was it like came full circle because it was like that happened in college, and just work. Because whenever a cool moment like that happens, you're like, okay, is there ever going to be another cool moment again? And so like to be working all those years and then to have it come back around and like be on Insecure, it was so cool.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
Did you ever consider scoring for TV or film?
I definitely thought about it, but I would definitely say I love making songs just how I currently do. I'm definitely open to it. I don't think I've put enough energy into like looking for those kind of opportunities. And I also feel like I just want more. I feel like I want to get my music skills up more, like learning piano and stuff. I just want to know way more about music before making that next step, I feel.
What are some producers today that you're really feeling, that you're into?
I'm really into Super Hot Beats, who produce a lot of stuff for Yellow Wolf.
Oh, wow.
I remember hearing a lot of his production. It kind of changed my life a little bit because it's very much, he makes music that's really for like your trunk. And it reminds me of being a kid riding around with my dad, like having the big 808s. And I don't know, the sound is it's really epic. I don't know how to describe it, but he's one of my favorites. Who else? I'm having a blank.
Like, what artists do you listen to now that you're like, oh, I like that production?
What's his name? The guy who produced Raven Lene.
I love Raven Lene.
I'm drawing a blank right now.
I don't know the name, but oh my God, the production on that EP, phenomenal.
It's really killing me. But he's producing for like a lot of people in Chicago and stuff like that. And it's really making me sad that I'm blanking on his name. But I've been studying a lot of what he's doing lately, just the way he uses percussion and just meshing all these sounds together. And it just sounds really cool. And it's really killing me that I don't know his name.
You know Kalela?
Yes.
Whoever produces for her.
Yeah, that's crazy as well.
I want to know who that is.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love that production as well. That's really crazy as well.
So who are you listening to now?
I'm listening to Raven Lene, of course. I'm listening to IMDDB. Are you familiar?
No.
She's a really talented singer. Actually, Pat put me onto her. She's from overseas, but she has this super crazy voice, but also kind of a rap kind of flow as well. Really love her sound and her production. I'm listening to Hiatus Coyote. That's one of my favorite bands. Listening to them a lot. Yeah, I would say those are like the top few right now.
Do you know Tommy Genesis?
Yes, yeah.
Her song Tommy, the producer of that. Oh man.
Honestly, I played that song on repeat for like a good while because it just goes so hard. Like whenever I go to the gym, I just need that song to hype me up. I go to that song. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, same. I live to that.
It goes so hard. That beat.
This guy Charlie, I don't know his full name.
Oh, I think I put that in the beat.
Charlie something. Yeah. I don't know his full name. He did a beat for Kanye on Pablo.
Oh, okay.
Charlie. I think it's just Charlie, but I don't know his full name. I gotta look that up.
Yeah, no, that beat is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So where can people reach out to you if they want a beat from you?
If they want a beat from me, you can hit me up. Instagram or Twitter, Beats by Keishh. That's KEISHH, 2H. My website, Keishh.com, KEISHH.com. Or hit my email, beats@Keishh.com. That's 2 H's.
Yeah, and definitely watch her Beats by Keishh. It's phenomenal. It's put together very well. You had a photographer, you had a videographer. Everything looks really great.
Thank
and
you so
your
much.
beats are phenomenal too.
I appreciate it.
And this has been level 7 of My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. And please subscribe on Google Play Music, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, coming soon, iHeartRadio, and of course my site, peteraradio.us. Thank you, Keishh.
Thank you.
This was so much fun.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Anytime.